Alvin and I have been married for 5 years, and I'm seen as the perfect husband in everyone's eyes. I've even been voted #1 wife lover by gossip magazines. Everyone envies our relationship, but they don't know what role I truly play in this marriage. For these 5 years, Vicky has always maintained that cool, indifferent demeanor, while I've gradually worn down the passionate love I once had when pursuing her. I know that in her heart, I'm not the one, not the person she can't get over. So, I filed for divorce, taking the initiative to leave. But a week later, she cornered me at the entrance of my new flat. "Alvin," she looked at me, her eyes rimmed red. "Why don't you want me anymore?" Ding. Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. This afternoon, just as I got home, Mina Reynolds sent me a message. "Sir, Mrs. Richards has a business dinner tonight. She'll be home around 10:30. I stared at my phone for a moment before replying, "All right, thank you, 10:30. By then, she would have finished dinner and probably had a few drinks. All I needed to do was run a bath for her and leave fresh clothes in the bathroom. After doing so, it was just 10:15. I decided to leave a lamp on in the living room and went to bed. As I was drifting off, I thought I heard the front door open. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Just as I was about to fall asleep, a whiff of perfume appeared beside me. A warm body pressed against my cool back. I drowsily turned my head, and her lips found mine with precision. She must be a bit tipsy. "Why are you in bed so early?" she murmured, nuzzling my ear. "I'm rather tired," I replied, but she continued to cling to me. "Oh well, she's always like this when she's had a few. If I don't indulge her, she'll just whine and fuss. Perhaps this is the only time she ever acts coquettish with me. Perhaps it's only in these moments that I feel like her husband. I can't refuse her." After we'd finished, it was late into the night. She fell into a deep sleep in my arms, but I found myself wide awake. I got up and poured myself a glass of red wine. Sitting alone in the living room, I stared at our wedding photo on the wall. When I wondered would be the right time to bring up divorce. I first met Vicky Richards at university. Back then, she was the radiant goddess of our campus. With her good family background, excellent academic performance, and stunning looks, she was the epitome of perfection. It was only natural that I fell for such a girl. I was quite thick-skinned at the time, but despite chasing after her for 2 semesters and doing many foolish things, I still couldn't win her heart. I remember it was a snowy day when I stood outside the girls' dormitory, waiting for her with some homemade desserts she loved. Instead of appreciation, I received her cold words, "Alvin, please stop coming to see me. I already have someone I like." I was stubborn at first, thinking it was just an excuse to reject me. Until one day, by chance, I saw the person she loved, Saul Lawrence. I watched as she carefully adjusted his collar, playfully ruffled his hair, and gazed at him with eyes full of love and a smile on her face. And then, the moment she stood on her tiptoes to plant a gentle kiss on his lips. It was then I realized that Vicky could indeed love someone so deeply. It just wasn't me. News of Vicky and Saul's relationship spread quickly across the university. Their love story, the campus goddess dating a poor student, became a subject of controversy and gossip. Many believed Saul was just a social climber, trying to attach himself to the Richards family. But Vicky always stood by him. She even used her family connections to shut down the university's gossip forum to protect him. Unfortunately, their passionate romance didn't have a perfect ending. Vicky never told me why she and Saul broke up, but rumor had it that she wanted Saul to marry her right after graduation and become part of the Richards group. However, Saul refused. He said he didn't want to be a man dependent on a woman and wanted to make his own way in the world. Many people witnessed their arguments on campus. They would fight, make up, and fight again. Finally, on the day Saul decided to return to his hometown to become a village teacher, they broke up. 6 months later, the Richards Group and Smith Group had a project collaboration, which brought Vicky and me back into each other's lives. Because of the project, we became close again. Looking back now, I suppose I might have taken advantage of the situation. I treated her just as well as I had years ago. I would share with her the insights I'd gained at Smith Group, remind her to drink less at business dinners, and always escort her home after these events. 3 months later, on a snowy night, she saw me shivering in the cold outside the company building. She suddenly walked up to me and asked, "Alvin, do you really like me that much?" I looked at her woodenly and nodded. Yes, I had always liked her very much. She smiled. Then, "Would you like to marry me?" When we first got married, I was genuinely enthusiastic about our relationship. In fact, for most of the past 5 years, I've been passionate about our marriage. Because I love her. I naively believed that when she proposed to me, it was because she loved me too. So even though she rarely replied to my messages, even though I had to rely on the Richards Group's secretary to know her schedule, even though we had nothing more intimate than our routine marital life, it never diminished my enduring love for her. She's an only child, destined to inherit the family business. While I have an older brother, Harry, which made my life relatively easier, old Mr. Richards was strict, and the board members of Richards Group often gave her a hard time despite her young age. I knew she was always under a lot of pressure. So, after careful consideration, I gave up the chance to be part of the management at Smith Group and came to Richards Group to help her manage their most chaotic branch at the time. I understood how difficult it was for a woman to establish herself in such a large company, so I tried my best not to let her worry about other things. Even when I fell ill from exhaustion, I wouldn't tell her, choosing instead to go to the hospital alone. Until that day when I accidentally found a box. Inside was a document showing that she had been anonymously donating to a rural primary school for several years. The headmaster of that rural school, in gratitude to this anonymous benefactor, would write a handwritten letter of thanks each year after receiving the donation, asking the relevant institution to pass it on. Those letters, neatly arranged in the box, didn't even have a single extra crease. And the headmaster of that rural school was Saul Lawrence. The next morning, after I got up, I was arranging for the housekeeper to prepare breakfast in the kitchen when Vicky Richards suddenly came up behind me and hugged me. I was startled and turned to look at her. "Are you having breakfast at home today?" She nodded. The housekeeper froze, staring at me blankly. I looked at the ingredients in the housekeeper's hands, feeling a bit awkward. In the past, I always had the housekeeper prepare 2 portions of breakfast, whether Vicky was eating at home or not. Because she usually left earlier than me, I cherished every moment we could eat together. But recently, I hadn't asked for 2 portions anymore. Felt a bit wasteful. "Well, you can have this portion," I said, plating the omelet the housekeeper had just made and handing it to her. She looked at the plate, pausing for a moment. "You eat it while it's hot. I'm not going to the office later. I'll head straight to the supplier. I'll just grab something on the way," I said, putting down the milk and turning to leave. "Alvin?" She suddenly grabbed me, hesitating to speak. I turned back, looking at her quizzically. "What is it?" She came closer, hugging my waist and looking up at me. "You seem to be in a bad mood lately. Is it because there's too much going on with the branch office and you're tired?" she asked, looking at me. "Tired? I guess I have been a bit tired lately. Thinking about the divorce has been mentally exhausting. I don't have anything on tonight," Mina Reynolds mentioned. "There's a new Michelin star restaurant that's opened near the company. Shall we go together?" she said. I paused, confirming with her. "You have time tonight?" She nodded. "How much time?" She smiled. "Plenty." "Plenty? Really?" "Of course." "That's great. I'll come to the office to pick you up tonight then." I hugged her back, feeling much more relaxed. She had time. That meant tonight we could finally have a proper talk about the divorce. However, that evening I still didn't get to meet Vicky. She stood me up. At 5 in the afternoon, just as I was leaving the supplier, I received a message from Mina Reynolds. Vicky had something come up unexpectedly and couldn't have dinner with me. This kind of cancellation had happened countless times in the past 5 years. I was used to it by now, so I changed out of my clothes and prepared dinner for myself. After eating, I looked over a few quarterly reports from the branch office, then picked up my phone, wanting to scroll through some short videos to relax. Then I saw Vicky in a trending local video. She wasn't alone. Saul Lawrence was with her. They were sitting facing each other, with the background of the coffee shop on the first floor of the Richards Group building. The blogger seemed to be an employee of the company. She excitedly said in the video, "Look at the perks of our company. Even after work hours, we can bump into our goddess boss and the famous educator Principal Lawrence having coffee together. Principal Lawrence is even more handsome in person than on TV. I wish I could go ask for an autograph." The video had been posted 5 minutes ago. The comments section was filled with praise. "Beautiful boss and handsome teacher. So pleasing to the eye. So jealous of the blogger. Beautiful lady. Is your company still hiring? I want to be there too." I silently watched for a while, then turned off my phone. So Vicky stood me up because of Saul Lawrence. For some reason, even though I was her husband, I felt that her canceling on me because of Saul Lawrence was the most natural thing in the world. What did it matter if we had been married for 5 years? In her heart, there was probably no comparison between me and Saul Lawrence. It was 9:30 when Vicky Richards finally returned home. "What did you have for dinner?" she asked as she sat down beside me, showing an unusual interest in my evening meal. I didn't answer immediately, but after a moment, I softly asked, "Were you late because Saul Lawrence was in town?" She seemed startled, then slightly annoyed. "Who told you?" I shook my head. "No one. I saw it on social media." After a pause, she let out a small sigh. "Alvin, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. You can relax. There's nothing between us." I had made an anonymous donation to his school, but somehow it got out. He came with a TV crew to express their gratitude. His schedule was tight, so I just did a few interviews. We met in the company cafe with many employees around. She took my arm. "Alvin, we've been married for 5 years. Surely we have that much trust between us. Don't we? I should have some free time tomorrow. Why don't we go to that fish and chips place?" "Vicky," I suddenly interrupted her. "I actually don't like fish and chips that much. I only said I did because you liked it. Back then, I wanted to spend more time with you over meals." She looked taken aback. "We've been married for 5 years. Do you know what food I actually like?" She remained silent. Of course, she didn't know. She had never even tried to find out. The emotions I'd been suppressing for hours were on the verge of exploding. I resisted the urge to shout at her, but I couldn't help asking that cutting question. "So, you remember that Saul likes black coffee and croissants, but you don't know what your own husband likes to eat." "Alvin," she frowned, "if you have any issues with me, we can discuss them. But please don't bring Saul into this." As expected, she couldn't tolerate even one mention of him. "Tonight, I do have something to discuss with you." I took a deep breath and turned to face her. "Vicky, I want a divorce." The air was silent for about a minute. "Alvin?" Vicky Richards widened her eyes. "Do you know what you're saying?" "I do. Divorce isn't something you can just casually mention." "I know." The air fell silent again. After a while, Vicky suddenly stood up. "Maybe my tone wasn't great earlier, but I only met Saul once. You want to divorce me over that?" I remained silent, feeling like she had missed the point. "If I really wanted to have an affair, I wouldn't do it like this. You should know how I operate after 5 years of marriage," she continued. Yes, I did know her well. She had always been strong-willed. If she wanted to do something, she would make sure it was flawless. And if she wanted to succeed at something, she would plan meticulously to ensure its success. But did she understand me? Had she ever loved me? After seeing the video tonight, that feeling of inferiority I had towards Saul during our university days came rushing back. The facts were right in front of me. As long as Saul was around, Vicky would never see me. But for a grown man to still be hung up on whether someone loves him or not would be ridiculous. I just feel that after all these years of marriage, we're not really compatible. You could have better options. How are we not compatible? She naturally reached out her hand. Alvin, You've done so well these past 5 years, but I don't want to continue doing it anymore. I avoided her hand. Vicky's hand froze in midair. I've already prepared the divorce. Alvin, she suddenly interrupted me, looking displeased. I've explained about Saul, and I've promised you there won't be anything else between us. What more do you want? She frowned. If you're going to keep harping on about tonight, then you're just being unreasonable. You're a grown man. Why are you being so clingy like a woman? The words I was about to say got stuck in my throat. Oh, it seemed we wouldn't be able to settle this tonight. Perhaps realizing her tone had been harsh, she softened her voice after a moment. I'm really tired these past few days. Please don't make a fuss. With that, she got up to take a shower. Watching her back, I softly said, Vicky, I had shepherd's pie for dinner tonight. Her steps faltered. Do you know? That's actually my favorite dish. You're joking, right? What did you say? Divorce. The next day, my brother Harry Smith stared at the divorce papers in my hand, his eyes as wide as saucers. After all, since my marriage to Vicky Richards, the cooperation between the Smith Group and Richards Group had strengthened considerably. I thought for a moment and decided it would be better to inform my brother in advance about the divorce. If you could come back to help me at Smith Group, I'd be thrilled, of course. But why the sudden decision to divorce? Harry asked while swinging his golf club. I mean, sure, there might have been a bit of pressure on her to marry you at first, but haven't you two been quite loving since the wedding? My brother continued. What do you mean? What pressure? I asked, confused. Harry. Well, my brother pinched the bridge of his nose, seemingly regretting his loose tongue. 5 years ago, when Richards Group needed a large sum of money to tide them over, I saw how much you fancied her. You were always rushing off to see her day and night. So when Vicky came to me representing Richards Group, I might have dropped a tiny hint. I stared at my brother in disbelief. What kind of hint? Harry shifted his gaze uncomfortably. Well, I told her that if our families were to become in-laws, I'd certainly help with the funding. I stood frozen, feeling the blood in my veins turn to ice in an instant. Alvin, my brother looked at me with concern. What else? I asked, pinching the bridge of my nose. What else don't I know? Harry hesitated. Come on, Harry. I'm about to get divorced. What else is there to hide? It's not a big deal, really. Just, on your wedding day, Vicky's ex-boyfriend showed up. I stared at him blankly. He said he wanted to see Vicky, but I was worried about complications, so I told him you two were very much in love now and that Vicky probably wouldn't want to see him. I sent him away. He scratched his head. There were people from the Richards family there too, so I'm not sure if Vicky ever found out about this. So that's how it was. That's how it was all along. I thought she wanted to marry me because I had won her over, because she had grown to like me a little. But it turns out this marriage was the result of her enduring humiliation for her company, for the Richards family. That sentence on that snowy night 5 years ago, so that's what it meant. Alvin, do you really like me that much? Enough to force me to marry you like this? So she married me but drew a clear line between us. She never allowed me to cross that boundary. When we first got married, I always liked to text her, wanting to take her out, to share the little interesting bits of daily life with her. But apart from work matters, she rarely replied. If there was anything, she would have her secretary contact me. Gradually, I became less talkative, no longer bothering her casually. Even our main point of contact became Mina Reynolds, her secretary. We had a normal married life, and she would whisper softly in my ear, calling me Al over and over again. I always thought this was proof of our love. But I had mentioned having children a few times, and she always said she was too busy now, it wasn't the right time. Now that I think about it, I suppose she never intended to have children with me. After all, I was just her husband, nothing more. Last night, she asked me what more I wanted, promising she wouldn't have any other entanglements with Saul Lawrence. Indeed, on our wedding day, they had a chance to start over. Because of me, they missed each other again, perhaps forever. What more could I, the sinner, want? But when I first liked her, This wasn't what I wanted. When she was with Saul, although I envied him, I never thought about being the third wheel, let alone breaking them up. I liked her because I wanted her to be happy, but she punished me like this for 5 whole years. I wandered aimlessly down the street, only to find myself unconsciously at the foot of the Richards Group building. In my briefcase lay the drafted divorce papers. After a moment's hesitation, I sent a message to Mina Reynolds, informing her that I had arrived at the company to see Vicky Richards. I wanted a divorce. I couldn't bear to drag this on any longer. As I walked into the ground floor lobby, I unexpectedly saw Saul Lawrence. He was smiling, chatting with the receptionist. Hearing footsteps, he turned and saw me too. He looked thinner than in the video calls, and his skin was a bit darker than during our university days. Though he wore a simple jacket and jeans, he exuded confidence, maturity, and composure. "Long time no see," he nodded at me. We went to the coffee shop on the ground floor together. I never thought I'd taste croissants and black coffee that remind me so much of our old university cafe. "It's quite nostalgic," he smiled, still as refreshingly handsome as ever. "Those student days were really something, weren't they?" He took the initiative to tell me about his experiences over the past few years. He had indeed done well for himself. After returning to his hometown to become a rural teacher, he had helped many children who had dropped out of school. Now the school was running smoothly, and he had become somewhat of a local celebrity. "That's really impressive," I praised him sincerely. He smiled. "People only see the glamorous side of these things. Actually, there were times when I almost couldn't carry on." He picked up his cup and took a sip of coffee. "To be honest, I came to see Vicky on your wedding day." I fell silent, not knowing what to say. Back then, I took her love for granted and selfishly made the decision to break up, hurting her. But when I actually became a rural teacher, I realized how vast the gap between ideals and reality truly was. Many things were much harder than I had imagined. There were many times when I almost gave up. At my lowest point, I wanted to abandon everything and come back to her. But then I heard the news of your wedding. "I'm sorry," I said. He looked startled. "I didn't know you had come that day." He lowered his head, saying nothing. "I'm planning to divorce Vicky." I looked at him. Saul's eyes widened suddenly. "Don't joke about that," he suddenly laughed. "Over the years, I've often seen you in the media. People call you the perfect couple." "It's true," I said. "May I ask something?" After a while, he said softly, Why are you divorcing?" I shook my head. What else could it be? "Because I'm tired. How I wish I could have someone who would let me take their love for granted. Just once." Just then, a familiar voice came from the entrance of the cafe. "Alvin!" Saul and I both turned our heads. It was Vicky. She walked quickly towards us, seeming to pause for a moment when she saw Saul up close, then frowned as she looked at me. "What brings you here suddenly?" Looking at her expression, I understood immediately. She probably thought I had come here specifically to cause trouble for Saul today. "Vicky." Saul stood up as well. "I'm sorry to bother you again. I have a few educational charity projects, the ones I mentioned to you last time. I happen to have some time today, so I wanted to discuss them with you." "All right. I'll have my secretary take you upstairs." With that, Vicky called over Mina, who was standing by the door, to escort Saul away. I thought she would go up with them, but to my surprise, she remained standing there looking at me. I was confused. Did she send Saul away to confront me in public about our issues? I was still her husband, after all. This favoritism seemed too obvious and inappropriate for the setting. Having no choice, I pinched the bridge of my nose and started to explain. "Vicky, it's not what you think." "Alvin, are you feeling unwell?" she asked. I was taken aback, not having time to react before she stepped closer and took my hand. "Why is your face so pale and your hands so cold?" Employees passing by started to look our way, whispering among themselves. Suddenly, I realized why she was behaving so unusually. Vicky and I rarely appeared together in such private settings. She probably feared I might cause a scene with Saul regardless of the place, so she sent him away first, then put on a show of affection in front of the employees to prevent any unfavorable rumors about Saul from spreading. I didn't mind. We were going to get divorced anyway, so helping her and Saul put on an act wasn't a big deal. Moreover, if I didn't make things difficult for them, the divorce proceedings might go more smoothly. With this in mind, I lifted my head and smiled. I'm fine. Don't you have matters to discuss with Mr. Lawrence? I'll be going now. I said this as I pulled my hand away and picked up my bag, ready to leave. But she stopped me, asking, "Where are you going?" I was speechless. She pulled me closer and suddenly placed her hand on my forehead. "Alvin, you're running a fever. I'm taking you to the hospital." I was quite annoyed when Vicky Richards dragged me into the car without explanation. "Let me drive," I said. "When we're together, I usually drive to let her rest." "You're ill. I'll drive," she insisted. I thought she was just making an excuse to get me out of the office, but to my surprise, she actually drove me to the hospital. "Everything seems normal, his temperature is fine. But your husband's hypoglycemia, how long has that been going on?" the doctor asked Vicky. Vicky hesitated. "A few years," I answered myself. "Family members should pay more attention to this. You should always keep some sugar handy for him," the doctor said while writing the medical report. "This can be serious or minor. Apart from palpitations and fatigue, it can lead to fainting in severe cases." Vicky nodded. "All right. It's not a big deal, doctor." I felt this was being blown out of proportion. I always carry sugar and biscuits with me. After seeing the doctor, I wanted to leave quickly, but Vicky kept asking the doctor many questions about precautions. She suddenly seemed very interested in hypoglycemia. As we walked to the car park after leaving the hospital, Vicky held onto my arm tightly. After all the fuss at the hospital, I actually started feeling a bit dizzy. Once in the car, I took out a sweet from my briefcase, unwrapped it, and popped it into my mouth. The atmosphere in the car was very tense. I simply closed my eyes. After driving for a while, the car finally stopped. "Are we there?" I asked groggily. "Red light," she replied. "Oh." After a moment of silence, she suddenly asked softly, "Why have you never told me about this before?" I looked at her puzzled, not understanding what she meant. "You must have felt unwell more than just this once." She pulled over to the side of the road. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "I did tell you." I closed my eyes again. "What?" She was taken aback. "During the first week after we got married, you came home late every day. On Friday, I had a hypoglycemic episode while driving home from the branch office. I quickly pulled over and texted you asking if you could bring me some sugar. You didn't reply. I guess you've forgotten now, which is understandable since I used to text you so often back then. There was another time, you should remember this one. We were being interviewed for a magazine, and the reporter accidentally knocked my briefcase off the sofa, spilling the sugar I had inside. The reporter suspected we had a secret child that we hadn't made public. The interview questions became quite tricky after that, and you were quite upset. After the interview, you specifically told me not to keep so many useless things in my bag in the future. Why didn't I say anything? Because you never gave me the chance. And I was afraid that this small flaw of mine might become an excuse for you to despise me. You don't like sweets, so I kept them hidden in the compartment of my bag, out of your sight. You wanted to become the head of Richard's group, so I did my best to help you achieve your goal. Alvin, she suddenly grabbed my hand. I actually found a restaurant. I wanted us to go there tonight. Her hand seemed to tremble slightly. But since you're not feeling well, shall we go somewhere for some light food instead? I shook my head. I'll just have some porridge at home. You don't need to accompany me. You should get back to the office. Alvin, I have time tonight, she insisted. I couldn't help but remind her kindly. But Saul is waiting for you at the office. The deputy can handle that kind of thing. I looked at her, puzzled. So, you really have time tonight? She nodded. Yes, I do. Then, I thought for a moment. Since you have time, shall we just go home? Is that all right? She nodded, a glimmer of joy flashing in her eyes. Okay, let's go home. My mood suddenly lightened as well. Then when we get home, let's have a proper talk about the divorce. For the rest of the journey, Vicky didn't say a word. She's actually quite perceptive. From last night until today, I think she must have understood that when I spoke about divorce, I was serious. After we got home, I calmly took out the divorce agreement. I spent a month preparing this, and I believe I've covered every point. Our divorce won't affect the Smith or Richards families. I'll step down from the management of the Richards Group subsidiary. If there's anything you want to add, you can. We can discuss it. She silently looked at the divorce agreement without speaking. I sat across from her. I know you're busy, so I wanted to prepare everything thoroughly before talking to you. This way, we can move quickly and not waste each other's time. I don't agree. She suddenly pushed the agreement back and turned her head away. I was taken aback. Which part don't you agree with? I opened the agreement, puzzled. Is it the shares clause? I've already made the biggest concession there. If it's any less, I'm afraid my brother. She suddenly reached out and pressed her hand on the agreement. Alvin, I don't agree to the divorce. She looked at me, enunciating each word. Our eyes met, and her expression seemed very serious. Why? After asking, I suddenly realized, oh, do you think I've managed the subsidiary well these 5 years, so you're worried your next husband won't do as good a job and people will criticize? You don't need to worry about that. As long as he's willing to put in the effort, he can do well. After thinking for a moment, I went to the bookshelf and took out 5 notebooks. These notebooks contain many important points about internal operations at Richards Group and dealing with the media, as well as supplier contact information, personnel situations, and structure of the subsidiary. Don't worry, I can hand all of these over to your future new husband. If he needs help in the future, he can always come and ask me. Alvin. She suddenly raised her voice, her eyes reddening even more. I looked at her, not understanding. What do you think our marriage is? And what do you think I am? Just a job for you? I didn't say anything, just turned my head to look out the window. How could it be just a job? It's precisely because I cherished this marriage so much that I worked so hard to help her with everything. But now, what's the point of saying all this? Alvin. She took my hand that was on the table. You need to know we're not in a work relationship. We're husband and wife who share a bed. But apart from sharing a bed, we don't have anything like a real married couple. She was stunned for a moment. The number of times we eat together in a month can be counted on one hand. The messages I send you are even fewer than a fraction of what I send to Mina. Although I don't know what other couples are like, I know that I don't want this kind of marriage anymore. I gently pulled my hand away. Vicky, actually, I've thought about this carefully for a while. You haven't done anything wrong in this marriage. I was the one who pursued you, and I was the one who wanted to marry you. In these 5 years, you haven't cheated. It's me who's always had unrealistic fantasies about this marriage. We could continue living like this, it's not impossible, but I think in life, we should be with someone we like and who likes us back. After all, you'd be happier with someone you like, right? She stared at me blankly. Someone I like? She asked dazedly. Who do you think I like? I shook my head. I don't know, but whoever it is, whether it's Saul or someone else, it's not me. The next morning, I moved out of our house and back into the flat I had bought before our marriage. The night before, we had sat quietly for a few minutes until Vicky Richards stood up to answer a phone call and left the house. She didn't return all night. She had taken the divorce papers with her. I assumed she must have agreed to the divorce. After all, she wouldn't lose much from it. The wedding ring on my left hand was the only gift Vicky had given me in 5 years. Before I left, I took it off and placed it on the bedside table. Just as I finished packing, I received a call from my brother. What's going on? Vicky called me early this morning asking what kind of sweets you like. My brother said, sounding perplexed. Are you two playing house or something? Are you getting divorced or not? I paused for a moment. We are, I replied. Harry, I thought for a second before asking, doesn't our family own a small media company that's not doing well? Harry made a sound of agreement. It's been unprofitable for years. I was thinking of cutting our losses and shutting it down. Well, I looked out the window of the 26th floor at the vast blue sky. Can I have it, please? In the evening, I surprisingly received a message from Vicky. Shall we go to tonight's party together? I stared at my phone, feeling a bit dazed. These kinds of messages used to come from Mina Reynolds, my secretary. Let's go separately. I've moved out while we're going through the divorce process, I replied. There was no response after that. Indeed, this was more in line with what one would expect. However, an hour later, as I was about to get in my car, I saw Vicky. She must have been waiting there for some time. She looked exhausted with bloodshot eyes. I had never seen her look so worn out before. Why are you? A glimmer seemed to pass through her eyes as she quickly walked over and took my hand, but suddenly stopped. Where's your ring? I took it off. Why aren't you wearing it? Her voice carried a hint of urgency. We're in the process of getting divorced. It's not necessary anymore, is it? Alvin, she raised her voice. I haven't agreed to divorce you. I didn't understand. You didn't agree? But you didn't say you disagreed last night. Didn't you take the divorce papers with you? She looked at me for a long moment, tears suddenly welling up in her eyes. Not saying I disagree doesn't mean I agree. Alvin, she hugged me, her voice choked with tears. I don't want a divorce. Vicky Richards said she didn't want a divorce. I had previously imagined countless obstacles on the path to divorce, such as my brother, the management handover of the branch office, and the division of assets. But I never expected to fail at the first hurdle. She didn't want it. I was beside myself. Why don't you want it? How can you not want it? Isn't this the best thing for both of us? She was stunned for a moment and was about to speak when we were interrupted by the sound of a car horn. Turned out her car was blocking someone's way. With no choice under the pressure, we both got into her car to go to the cocktail party together. As soon as I sat in the driver's seat, I sensed something was off. The previously clean back seat was now piled with package after package. I bought some sweets, she said softly. I've also put some in the glove compartment. In the future, don't hide from me when you're not feeling well. She added, I've placed them around the house too. Vicky, I found 2 excellent Michelin-level chefs. In the future, whatever dish you want to eat, whether it's spicy or sweet, I'll eat with you. I'll learn to cook them too. I'll come home earlier from work in the future, and we can have dinner together. On weekends, we can go to the cinema or the amusement park together. If you're concerned about Saul Lawrence's matter, I can explain that too. The company has indeed been doing educational charity work for years, but the choice of which school wasn't my decision. It was a choice made by the office after comprehensive consideration. I didn't expect Saul's school to be chosen, and I only found out about it recently. I know you might have seen those letters. Actually, the office has been keeping those letters all along. I didn't see them any earlier than you did. It's just that the old man somehow found out about the thank you letters recently, so I asked the office to organize them, intending to take them back to the old house for him to see on the weekend. The croissants and black coffee. She seemed a bit upset. The current staff at the company cafe used to work at the school cafe. She later lost her job, so I let her come work here. Saul Lawrence used to work part-time at the school cafe, so she still remembers him and his preferences. I might have given you the wrong impression that night with my attitude, but I really think he's just someone from the past. Someone who has nothing to do with us. Even an insignificant person. Vicky. Alvin, she interrupted me. Will you listen to me, please? I thought about it all night last night. I haven't done well enough in this marriage, but I can change. If one acknowledges their mistakes and is willing to change, don't they deserve another chance? I was in a daze until I arrived at the cocktail party venue. After politely exchanging pleasantries with a few familiar faces, I decided to get some fresh air on the balcony. To my surprise, I encountered a familiar face there. Nettie Harding, my childhood friend. I walked over to her. Well, if it isn't the universally praised perfect husband? she said with a raised eyebrow and a smile. Long time no see. This girl's tongue was as sharp as ever. How have you been? I asked. I knew she was the illegitimate daughter of the Harding family, and her situation there wasn't great. I'm doing all right, she replied, pulling out a cigarette and offering it to me. Fancy one? I hesitated for a moment. I'd better not. Quit, have you? It'd be trouble if I got caught on camera. After all, the media thinks I don't smoke. Pfft, how boring, she scoffed, gesturing towards the large expanse of trees beyond the balcony. If anyone's really hiding out there to take photos, I'll eat that entire forest. How's that? I chuckled, feeling some of my tension ease. All right then, I'll have one. That's more like it. When I saw you earlier, I thought you might be depressed or something. I smiled. So, are you still without work? She shrugged indifferently. Nettie, would you consider coming to work at my small company? I knew she had always had a talent for design. Oh, what's this about? Aren't you with Richards' group? Not playing the man behind Vicky Richards anymore. She raised an eyebrow. I couldn't be bothered to banter with her. Instead, I took out my phone and sent her the company details. The company's still in its early stages, so the pay isn't high, but I'd like you to join us. All right, she yawned, but her gaze suddenly shifted past me towards the entrance. I turned to see Vicky Richards. My first instinct was to put out the cigarette. Vicky disliked the smell of smoke. She approached us, frowning slightly as she glanced at Nettie, then at me. Why are you smoking? It's not good for your health, she said softly. Nettie looked at me, then at Vicky. You didn't know he smokes? Nettie suddenly spoke up. He's always smoked. Vicky froze for a moment. Sister? Nettie walked up to her, smiling as she patted Vicky's shoulder. You've been married for what, 5 years now? Don't tell me you know less about your husband than I do. Nettie left, leaving behind a pale-faced Vicky and me. Well, I felt a headache coming on. Don't misunderstand. I didn't mean to hide it from you. These past few years, there's been a lot going on with the branch office, as you know. Your uncles love to cause trouble there, and it was quite difficult to manage at first. Sometimes when I'm stressed and tired, I smoke a bit at home. After my explanation, her face grew even paler. After a moment's thought, I added, Nettie and I just checked. There's no chance of anyone secretly filming here, so you don't need to worry about any PR issues. You think I'm worried about someone catching you smoking on camera? Her eyes welled up. I was taken aback. Wasn't she? She lowered her head. Alvin, have I disappointed you that much? I paused, not really knowing how to answer her. Was I disappointed? Of course I was. The higher the hopes, the greater the disappointment. But after being disappointed so many times, you get used to it. Now that we've decided on divorce, what's the point of making pointless accusations? I shook my head. Not at all. Now that the branch office is on track, I hardly smoke anymore. So, you can talk about your stress with Nettie, but not with me? I was stunned for a moment. If I had to say, do you want to hear it? I asked. She nodded. My only stress right now, I looked up, speaking seriously, is whether our divorce proceedings can go smoothly. The quicker, the better. At this, Vicky's whole body began to tremble. I was at a loss for words. She was the one who insisted I tell her. After a while, she came over and hugged me, her voice muffled. Anything but that, she said. Alvin, I can't go through with the divorce. Since then, Vicky Richards seemed to have changed a lot. Although I still insisted on stepping down from the management of the Richards Group subsidiary and took over the media company of Smith Group, I kept receiving various gifts from her at the new company. There were also all sorts of prepared meals and, of course, her occasional appearances. In person. It was like everything had been reversed from when I used to pursue her. The young people in the company didn't know about my impending divorce, and they often praised me, saying how wonderful my wife was. Only Nettie Harding, since joining my company, would give a meaningful smile every time she saw the things Vicky brought. She'd smile and shake her head. A month later, the company needed to prepare a bid proposal. I pulled Nettie in and we worked overtime for several days on a small detail. The moment we finally nailed it, I relaxed my shoulders and looked at Nettie, noticing she also appeared relieved. She used to be quite casual about work, and I had never seen her so serious before. I smiled. Nettie looked at me, puzzled. I explained with a grin. I suddenly feel like I've unexpectedly struck gold. Nettie chuckled. It's me who's doing you a favor by helping, you know? Yes, of course. I couldn't do anything about her attitude. I stood up. Shall we go? It's so late. Want me to treat you to a late-night snack? That sounds great. But isn't someone coming to see you today? She paused, looked towards the door, and gestured. See, what did I tell you? I turned to look, and there was Vicky Richards standing at the door. Nettie lazily packed her bag, waved at me, and said, I'm off then. Remember you owe me a late-night snack. I nodded. Got it. After Nettie left, only Vicky and I remained in the office. She walked over silently, carrying a thermal food container. Have you eaten? She asked softly. I have, I replied. A moment of silence followed. Vicky, I think. Before I could finish, she suddenly threw herself into my arms, hugging me tightly. Vicky, I involuntarily stiffened. What's wrong? She didn't speak, just took a deep breath. The wall clock ticked away. I'm jealous, she said softly after a while. Alvin, I'm jealous. I never thought there'd be a day when Vicky Richards would hold me in her arms and say she was jealous. You asked me before why I wouldn't agree to the divorce, she said. Do you know why? It's because I can't bear to imagine you with someone else. Just like earlier, when I stood at the doorway and saw you smiling at her. You both looked so happy, and I couldn't stop the jealousy rising inside me. I know there's nothing between you and Nettie, but I still felt like I was going mad with envy. Alvin, she buried her head in my chest. I'm really losing it. I raised my hand and quietly embraced her. Vicky, you also asked me why I wanted a divorce, right? She stiffened. For 5 years, I've been someone else's husband, with my heart and eyes full of my wife. But looking back, I realize I've lost myself. Vicky, I want a divorce because I want to be Alvin Smith again. I want to live for myself. I gently pulled away from her. It's been 5 years. Can't we part on good terms? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I paused, then moved to leave. To my surprise, she grabbed my hand. Darling, I froze. Just once? Give me one more chance, please? Her palm was burning hot. All right, I said softly. If you can step down as CEO of Richards Group before the end of the year, we won't get divorced. She was taken aback. What? That's my only condition. She was silent for a moment. Alvin, that condition is too harsh for me. I shook my head and tried to pull my hand away, but she wouldn't let go. This is the only condition. There are no others. After a while, she released my hand. I understand, she said. Step down. My brother Harry was surprised for a moment, then laughed and shook his head. No way. If Vicky Richards steps down, I'll twist my head off and give it to you as a football. I know. The situation in the Richards family was quite complicated. Old Mr. Richards had 2 sons, Vicky's uncle and Vicky's father. Initially, the old man had intended to give the company to his elder son's family. However, Vicky's cousin turned out to be a disappointment. 6 years ago, he got into some trouble and ended up in prison. As a result, Vicky had to take over the Richards Group. But other relatives weren't happy about a girl being in charge. They caused no end of trouble in the company, with everyone eyeing the CEO position. Over the past 5 years, I've had to deal with many similar issues on her behalf. It's a delicate situation all around. Vicky didn't grow up in the Richards family mansion and wasn't particularly close to her grandfather. The old man, in his advanced age, sometimes struggled to distinguish right from wrong. For 5 years, she, as a young woman, had to fight tooth and nail to secure her position. I knew better than anyone how hard it had been for her. So, there was no way she would step down. As it turned out, I was right. After our conversation, Vicky didn't contact me again. 3 months flew by in the blink of an eye. I threw myself into work, and finally, the company's performance started to show signs of improvement. Nettie Harding and the other employees were very encouraged. I could see that she had changed quite a bit over these past few months. On December 31st, the company held a small year-end party. We all gathered for dinner and drinks at the local pub. My brother Harry came too. "Well done, little brother," he said. "Just as everyone says, you're a business genius." Then he started to push his luck. "Maybe you should take on some responsibilities in the Smith Group too. Dad's always overworking me. Your big brother is about to collapse." Everyone was in high spirits at the party. Harry was particularly excited since I had agreed to help him. He was singing and dancing, completely forgetting his usual image. At 11 o'clock, we all left the pub together. It had just started snowing, and some of the more playful ones began a snowball fight right there on the street. Across the road, a large screen on a shopping center was broadcasting a TV program. Harry was chattering away behind me. A snowflake landed on my hair, and I reached up to brush it off. When I looked back at the screen, I saw Vicky Richards. She was graceful and poised as she answered the reporter's questions. "Ms. Richards, is there any special reason for your sudden decision to step down as CEO of the Richards Group?" Vicky smiled calmly. "No special reason. I just want to take some time off. To be with my husband." I stared blankly at the screen. Turning my head, I saw my brother Harry with an equally stunned expression. As our eyes met, he silently raised his right hand and touched his neck. Just then, my phone rang. "Hello. Where are you?" "City Center, by the clock tower. I'll be there in half an hour." "Vicky." "Alvin, you must keep your promise." Her voice carried a relaxed laugh. "Wait for me." At 11:45 p.m., I met Vicky Richards at the foot of the clock tower. She came through the snow, flakes falling on her shoulders and hair, creating a dreamy, ethereal scene. "Is this really necessary?" We stood facing each other as I said, "You've resigned. What if you can't go back?" She shook her head and smiled lightly. "If I can't go back, then so be it." I shook my head. "How can you just throw away 5 years of hard work? You're being so impulsive," I said, pinching the bridge of my nose. Her eyes crinkled with amusement. "So, you are worried about me, aren't you?" She took another step closer. "So, I still have hope, right? Vicky." She handed me a stack of papers. It was the divorce agreement. I stared at her, puzzled. These past 3 months, while I was handling my resignation, I've been thinking a lot. "Alvin, I've stepped down, but I don't want to use that to force you to continue this marriage." She paused. "I've already signed the divorce papers. If that's the case, why did you resign?" I was even more confused. A businesswoman doesn't make losing deals. I'm confident that even without Richards Group, I can build a new one from scratch. Starting over might even be more challenging. She smiled. "And I wanted to use my resignation to exchange for something else. Is that okay?" "Exchange for what?" I looked at her, not understanding. She stood on her tiptoes, brushing snow from my hair. "For a chance for us to start over." She looked up, I looked down, our eyes meeting. Her gaze was filled with a tenderness I'd never seen before. A chance for Vicky Richards to pursue Alvin Smith again. At 11:59 p.m., I signed my name on the agreement. From that moment, I was no longer the perfect husband people talked about. I was just Alvin, myself. The clock tower chimed, ringing in the new year. Vicky and I looked up at the falling snow. "It's the new year," I mused. "Yes, it is." "Well then." Her eyes sparkled as she extended her hand. "Happy New Year, Alvin Smith. I'm Vicky Richards." I looked at her and smiled. "Happy New Year, Vicky Richards." I reached out my hand as well. "I'm Alvin Smith."